Good evening, all, and welcome once again to the Muscle Health Foundation Charity's 17th episode. Can you believe it? 17 episodes. Sorry, we're a few seconds late this evening. This is the 17th episode in Series 2 of our In Conversation with broadcast hosted by myself, Michael McGrath. By way of a very, very quick refresher, as always, these chats are conversational in style with interesting guests and personalities, designed to inform and hopefully entertain. And I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, that you're going to have a great natter with our guest tonight. I've no doubt about it. He's got some incredibly exciting news. You've heard it here first. Suffice to say that if you have an interest in anything to do with accessibility and aviation travel, you won't want to miss the next 60 minutes or so. That's my Batman voice. If you're joining us for the very first time, a very, very warm welcome to you. As many of you will now know, these broadcasts are designed to speak to our community, children and young people across the UK between the ages of 8 and 28 who have the muscle wasting condition, muscular dystrophy. Plus, they're an opportunity for families and those with an interest in the guest and the topic of conversation, of course, to come together, to have that shared sense of community. So once again, to all the mums and dads, all the uncles and aunties, the brothers and sisters, the PAs, the carers, our charity friends, our partners, our supporters, donors and volunteers, welcome to you all. As I mention in every episode, we want these shows to remain relevant and, of course, of interest not only to our tribe, our amazing tribe of muscle warriors across the UK, in encouraging that sense of togetherness, but also to new audiences hearing about the work and impact of the Muscle Health Foundation charity. So before we welcome tonight's guest, a very few quick housekeeping points. Firstly, as always, a safeguarding note. We have eyes over tonight's broadcast, which is streaming live on the charity's Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn channels. So if any inappropriate comments are observed, we will take action. Secondly, all In Conversation with broadcasts are recorded, meaning that you can watch any of them at your leisure, whenever you want. That's a wonderful thing. So that's over 30 episodes we've now done, all available. Just head on over to the charity's YouTube channel, search for Dreammaker 657, as you can see on the screen, and be sure that you hit the subscribe button, of course. Happy viewing. So without further ado, I am really delighted to introduce tonight's ICW In Conversation with guest. Give it up, please, for Chris Wood, MBE, the founder of Flying Disabled, and also a 1/3 owner, partner of Air for All Systems. A very, very warm welcome, Chris. Did we get that right?
I think so. That'll do. I've get called a lot of things. That is very polite. Thank you very much.
Very good. How's it going?
It's been a busy day. It's been a very busy day launching the Air for All systems, which I know we'll get onto. Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to get onto that. But it's so good to have you with us this evening. I'm trying to recollect, Chris, when our paths last crossed. Can you recall?
Yeah, I can actually. It was the Symposium that was organised primarily, and I know she's listening in with Geraldine Lundy, who was with Virgin at the time, and you were one of the guests. I think you came along on the day, and I think that was when it was, Michael. And then since then we've kind of crossed before that and after that in a roundabout way. But you've got a clear interest in flying, so
yeah, I do. And were you at the Paralympics out of interest, Chris?
I beg your pardon?
Were you at the Paralympics?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, 2012. Yeah,
it.
Definitely. Good. One of the best. I was there with my son. It was one of the best days of my life.
Yeah, fantastic. So whereabouts are you in the UK, Chris?
So I'm sitting in my office in a little village, so small it's carpeted, Michael, just outside Chesham in Buckinghamshire, England, Great Britain, the world.
Excellent, very good. So listen, tell me, how was life for you and your family during lockdown?
It was tough, very tough. I especially I think certainly mentally it played with everybody, and none more so than my daughter Taylor. And she came home, and because she lives with Dad, and we just started to giggle and laugh, and yeah, it was fine. But it's been tough for everybody, and everything is relative, I think. But yeah, we've all coped.
So how are you guys feeling? Because when you look at the increasing prevalence, the numbers are heading the wrong way, aren't they? So how cautious are you still being?
I'm still not going out much, to be honest. Not as I am. I'm trying to, but there's that fine balance, isn't it? And I read the figures in France are very low, but they're still very much observing the masks and hand sanitizer, and there is an air of Great Britain not probably being as good as we should. Time will tell.
Are you for mandatory mask wearing?
I just say everybody make their own choice.
Yeah. So look, Chris, let's start with flying disabled. As I mentioned in our last episode, you're on a mission, I know you are, to help enable wheelchair users to fly with dignity and safely, right?
Yeah.
I happen to know that you've got some incredibly exciting news that you'd like to share with us. Tell us some more.
So I won't go back too far, and we all know the reasons why we need to have wheelchair access on an aircraft. But it's in two parts, really, because we need power wheelchairs to have access, because most people that use power wheelchairs need that thoracic support that the chairs offer us. Not everybody by any means, but most. And then you have people I know that use manual wheelchairs, and but they would be quite happy to sit in an aircraft seat. Well, my son and my daughter would not. So I focused on power wheelchairs, and it's a tricky one. So the last 18 months, I mean, March last year, when we all locked down, March, April, and aviation went to the floor, I thought that was it, I'm done, But like a phoenix rising from the flame, I was contacted by Nigel Smith and Paul Priestman, who I'd known for a long time, and said, come on, Chris, we can sort this. So I've got one of the biggest transport designers in the world, Priestman Good, and one of the biggest aircraft certification companies in the world in Nigel Smith. You just couldn't ask for a better two guys with that wealth of experience. So what you see, and when it's played, is that the concept that you'll see is totally certifiable, and I think it's going to get played in a second, and I'll walk and talk everybody through it. And the biggest barrier in any of this, and love it or hate it, just before you play it, Grace, I'll just outline that airlines run on revenue. That is their god. Now, we all pay cheap price tickets, and the reason for that is because they pack us as tighter than El Chapo's suitcase on a weekend away. So I think we've got to balance that with the fact that we want to try and use up some space to get a power wheelchair on board. So for the first time, what you will see is there is no loss of passenger space as far as an aircraft is concerned. And the plane you're about to see is a single aisle aircraft, not a twin aisle. Single aisle aircraft are becoming the most popular because they can fly further, and so they're a bit of a bargain price, really. It's almost two single aisle aircraft for the price of one twin aisle, but that's been a bit brutal. So Grace, if you'd like to play it, then I'll walk and talk you through, because I think a couple of times will be enough. So this is the front of the aircraft, and the seat will slowly just lift, and the person in the power wheelchair will reverse in, pick up the tag at the bottom, which will lock into the aircraft. The wheelchair is not touching the seat. There is a huge reason for that, and then you land and off you go. So you can see at the end of the close of the picture there, you can see a little loop on the floor. That's to connect the wheelchair to the floor. So if we run that through one more time, and you will see that probably a bit clearer now as to what's going on. So as the seat lifts, we have a wheelchair being reversed in, and there are still challenges around this, but the basics are we work on that, and that tracking device could go further. Actually, we could lock it in a lot further, but it's as I've always said, let's leave everything on the table and not discount it until we're fully sorted. So, and that's primarily how it works. It's a very straightforward system. And that is mostly on the single aisle aircraft, which in aircraft terms is A320s, 737s, those sort of things. And that is the toughest nut to crack. So it's not like we've got to take this and see if it'll work in twin R, because you've got a bigger floor space and therefore you can put it anywhere. Ideally, it's at the front of the aircraft. That's what we're thinking. But once again, let's try this. Michael, could I talk about the wheelchair for a moment?
Absolutely.
So whilst we've done all of this and this will work, the biggest challenge is, of course, going to be a wheelchair, and a power wheelchair, more importantly. So I think we have to maybe rethink the wheel a little bit and how that wheelchair looks. And we have to start somewhere. So this concept of that wheelchair you see, which is a Sunrise Medical standard wheelchair, nothing, it's just, we can buy it off the shelf. So it's not something we've invented to go in that space. And if you look at that wheelchair, that's fine for my daughter. I'm not too sure it'll work for Geordie, my son, but that will change. However, you have to start somewhere. And unless we start to evolve a wheelchair that we can use every day and that will also be fit to fly, then fine. I know my daughter plays wheelchair football. She doesn't use her everyday wheelchair because it will get smashed to smithereens. So she has a special wheelchair to play football. However, I think we should go down the road of looking at a wheelchair that's ready to fly, but everybody can use every day. So that's when you get off the plane at Florida and head off to Disneyland or wherever you want to go, you can still use it there. So I would, we have to think about that wheelchair. We've got to start somewhere. I'm very aware this will not be for everybody, but we have to. At the moment, it's for nobody. So let's make it for somebody, and let's see what happens. As I said, that's my mobile phone. 20 years ago, it was a house brick. Okay, so we have to move on. And this is going to be the starting point with Sunrise, that we work towards that. And I'm sure other wheelchair manufacturers will be looking at this as well. Now they can get it on the plane.
Chris, your sound is perfect, but I have a significant echo, so I might just ask Grace just to pick up while I resolve the echo problem.
Hello, jumping in on hoping I don't have the echo problem as before.
I can't hear the echo, Michael, if that helps.
It might be interesting actually if the viewers can hear the echo, because when we were all tech checking before, it was absolutely fine and just disappeared. So, Chris, the process of the transfer is often undignified. So how can this be overcome? Will what you've announced today solve the problems, or is there still some work to be done there?
There are some operational challenges, I think, but ultimately you should be able to drive in the airport in your power wheelchair, get to the cabin door, drive on, reverse into that seat. Hey ho, away you go. Yeah, can I have a beer while I travel, please? I mean, it's so for an airport, it will absolutely take away a lot of their costs. So I can see airports pushing this. They would like this. It takes out their operation costs. More importantly, and they would say this, it's a dignified way to travel. Currently, it's so undignified, and let's not lose sight of that, being manhandled out your power wheelchair into an aisle wheelchair that is designed to fit the plane, not the person, and then trundled into your own passenger seat, and quite often in full view of a plane full of passengers, which shouldn't be done. But turnaround times, etc., sometimes, and people are late, just the system doesn't always work. You can just solve all that, a lot of it anyway, certainly for power wheelchair use.
Yeah, I don't know, Michael, stories, which hopefully the sound will resolve and we'll be able to share them. But the wheelchairs do sometimes end up at different destinations. Have you got any examples of those?
I know of, someone's gone to Sydney and it's ended up in Beijing. I mean, that can happen. And when I fly, I don't end up in a different destination. Part of my body doesn't end up in a different destination. That's what we're saying. But ultimately, the biggest question is not about that. That's quite rare. However, it's the broken wheelchairs, and these I think Stephen Hawking's chair alone was best part of $70,000-$80,000. And I know my kids' power wheelchairs and people in the audience will anything between 10 and 20 Ks an average. That's a huge amount of money. And that aside, if you're traveling to a resort, you've got no legs. How do you go on holiday? How do you have a holiday lying down on a stretcher for 2 weeks? It's that's what's so wrong, and this will challenge that. But there are things to be done.
Yeah, and I think I remember seeing something in the Paralympics where one of the athletes went over and he landed and his whole wheelchair was completely damaged.
Yeah, Paralympians, there was one incident. The system is broken. This is not the fault of an airline. It's not the fault of an airport or the assistant staff. The system is broken. And if you can start mending some of it, but more importantly, and one of the things we want to do is to harmonise this. So if you leave Heathrow and head out to Sydney, you should have that journey. And it doesn't matter where you go, whether that is to Moscow, to LA, to Sydney, to Stockholm, wherever that may be, that journey's got to be harmonised, and also in transition flights as well. So that's got to be harmonised. And that's one of the essences of this.
Chris, hopefully you can hear me clearly now. Is that
you could be a bit louder, Michael.
Yeah, a bit louder. Okay, well, we'll turn the volume up a teeny bit. How's that? Is that a bit better?
Sounds good, Michael.
Very good. Excellent. Grace, thank you so much.
That's okay. Hopefully it's solved.
So remember, if you'd like to put a question directly to Chris, you know what you need to do. Please post a comment on whichever channel you're watching, whether it's on LinkedIn, YouTube, or on Facebook. So for those who've tuned in this evening, or to those who'll be watching the show at a later date, because we know that it's being recorded, Chris, if there was one thing that you need right now to happen, something that perhaps all of us can do to help push your vision across the line, to help the mission become a reality, what would that be?
Well, most people do it already, but it is obviously today it's gone out over social media and it's been very well received, is to keep pushing those messages across. And, perhaps sometimes in 240 characters, maybe say what it means to you. What does this mean to you? What does this mean to know that your wheelchair will be in your destination, not only arrive at the same place, but sitting underneath you, supporting you, and knowing that it's going to stay in one piece when you get there? What does that mean to you? We could talk forever and a day at how bad it is and how bad it's been. I would rather the positive images. This is what airlines want to see. They think disabled people have no friends and don't want to travel with anybody, and it's just one person. No, when my son travels, there's at least 3 or 4 tickets going with that. So, let's quell that myth. We've got mates.
We've got another Chris. Chris, hi, very good evening to you. When do you think it will be a reality?
So this, it's the $6 million question, isn't it? And I would like to think that with a fair wind and the right people around, under 2 years, let's be clear, they got internet at 30,000 feet very quickly because there was a game changer for money. So let's work on that principle. But what I would like to see alongside this, now we have the opportunity to say to airlines, right, you've got no excuse now. You're not losing a passenger seat.
Yes.
So what we need to do is for you to start using this, and there might be first movers. I can think of good airlines. I don't want to name them; that would be wrong. But there are some good laners that go, yeah, I'm going to have that. That I definitely want that. And there will be others, and you can name those. We all know those who will never do it unless the regulators, who are very keen on this subject. Not only they're keen because they know some of their passengers travel with a risk. They don't like that. They like our passengers to be safe. So they will be pushing this agenda, and also with the governments. And the airline lobby is quite big, but I think this time round now, I think we've got a good opportunity to get this through.
Chris, you've been so far. Hopefully, I'm coming through loud and clear. Listen, you'll hopefully be familiar with our quick fire rounds, allowing our audience to get to know our guests just that little bit more. Chris, are you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm scared, Michael. Yeah, I'm kind of ready.
Don't be scared. Here we go. Most used emoji on your smartphone?
Oh, it's just the first one I can lay my hands on. It's a smile. Cavemen smoking pictures. I still use words.
Very good. Give us 3 IATA airport codes, aka IATA location identifiers. So the 3-letter geocode designating an airport 3 airports, please.
You want airports or the codes?
The codes.
Codes for the airports. I ain't got a clue.
LAX.
Oh yeah, okay. Is that what you mean? Yeah, HAL, LAX. I don't know many.
LGW.
London Gatwick.
LHR.
London Heathrow.
What,
but I refer to that as HAL.
What one tune puts Chris Wood in a great mood?
At the moment, it would probably be Lord, The Path. Or is she pronounced Lorde? I can't remember.
One item that you take to a desert island.
Boat.
Good
Can I have
answer.
a boat, Michael? And an internet connection and my Uber app. Alternatively, I'll just take a guitar, Michael.
Electric, plastic, or bamboo toothbrush, Chris?
Sorry, my guitar or the connectivity? It'd be an acoustic guitar.
So electric, plastic, or bamboo toothbrush?
Oh, I see. Well, over there, bamboo.
So Chris, you're the PM for 24 hours. What single change would you make today?
PM for 24 hours. Well, I'd get my Department for Transport all over this project and say, right, we need this happening now. And more importantly, we're going to open the doors to funding whatever we want, but we prefer private business to get involved.
If you could speak a language,
Russian.
Nastrovie.
Neat. Vodka.
Largest airport in the world.
Largest airport.
Is it A, King Fahd International, Saudi Arabia? Is it B, Denver International in the US? Or C, Dallas Fort Worth in the US?
I'm going to say Denver.
King Fahd in Saudi Arabia.
Is it really?
Chris, when is the next Global Accessibility Symposium?
Well, it was supposed to be in Prague, but it's been cancelled, I think. And that was supposed to be in November.
Have you ever written and sung a song?
I have. And it was #1 in Uzbekistan, mate. I can tell you that now. They were all over it.
For those that don't know, Chris has indeed written and sung and played the instrument to one particular song, which you can find on YouTube if you search for Chris Wood Falling.
Thank you, Michael.
Chris, your first career that you dreamed of having as a kid?
Pilot. Oh, no, astronaut. And I actually wrote to NASA and they wrote back with lots of black and white pictures and information on how to be an astronaut. And I've still got it. It's in the loft. I was 13.
So a bit of a gear change. I'm going to share a series of photographs and I'd like you to just tell us a little bit about them in no particular order. So here we go.
So, yeah, this is back in the 70s. It was a selection of concerts at the YMCA in Princess of Wales Street Great Russell Street. And it's the first time I ever saw Joy Division. And from there, I was absolutely hooked and saw pretty much all their UK concerts. However, the reason why this picture is because there was one night we went to see Ray Creola and Scritti Politti. But one of the bands there was managed by the wonderful Peter Purvis. And there's all these punks hunting down Peter Purvis to get his autograph. And for the younger viewers, Peter Purvis was one of the presenters of Blue Peter. That's the level of God we are talking about.
Very good. Let's move on to the next picture.
See, I was cool. And the one on with the sunglasses on, I recently took my son a couple of years ago to see the In-Betweeners movie where they all went on holiday to Spain. That's that picture with the sunglasses. And yeah, and I watched that film and thought, yeah, that was me and my friends back in the early 80s, pioneers of the lads' holidays. And the one on the left was probably a ball that my friends were at university. Well, I wasn't at university, but often I got taken along. And yeah, God, I look good. What happened? What goes? Why do we get old, Michael? So wrong.
There's a little bit of angst coming through here. And we'll go on to the next one.
So this is my son. He graduated last month. He was one of the COVID kids, so he should have graduated last year. And yeah, this is a fantastic day. He graduated with his degree in sports journalism, and he's now on his second year of his master's. And anybody watching this who is about to or even thinking of going to university, don't even hesitate. Just go. It is great. Yes, it's work hard, play hard, and he has had a great time, but he has worked very hard. And for Geordie, with his challenges, where everybody else started in September, he started to get his head down in August to try and keep ahead or in pace. But lots of support. Very proud of what he's done.
And so you should have a particular interest in any sport in terms of his sports journalism.
He's F1 through and through. And have I got time to tell the story of we went to, I said if he got into university, I would take him to Abu Dhabi, the Grand Prix out there. And I'm a Twitter freak. So I went on Twitter, and a lady called Natalie Pinkham, who I was following on Twitter, I simply asked her any chance of meeting some of the Sky crew. She came back, she said yes. We exchanged numbers. We got to Abu Dhabi, to the racetrack, and we met the Sky crew, Damon Hill, Johnny Herbert, et al. And then just as the race was finishing, we were walking away, and she texted me, "You still here? I've got some signed stuff for Geordie, and come round to the paddock gates." So we went round the paddock gates, and we met her, and she said, "Got this signed stuff." And so he took those and said thank you. And then she said, "Oh, well, why don't you come into the paddock?" So we went into the paddock, and I immediately told my friend Martin, who was traveling with me, this is air travel. Me and Geordie I have to travel with a friend just to make sure that Geordie was okay. And we wandered around the paddocks, introduced to everybody. And we were standing with Lewis Hamilton's mum. And as you might know, Lewis Hamilton's brother has got cerebral palsy. And so we were chatting with her. And along came this journalist, who I didn't know was a journalist. And he introduced himself as David Tremaine. And what was nice about David is he immediately spoke to Geordie, didn't speak to me. And eyes on Geordie, what he was doing. And so then we started talking at it. He's a very eminent F1 journalist, and he has mentored Geordie through university. You cannot get that anywhere. And they are a fantastic group of people, very, very keen on diversity, and especially around disability, as you would expect in F1. So he's had that very, very lucky door open for him, which has got him in press conferences at McLaren, and also talking to a lot of F1 people. And I'm sure, all things being well, he will do okay.
Thank you for sharing. We'll move on to the next slide.
Next slide, please. So this is my daughter, Taylor. Immensely proud of her, although she will give me a heart attack. She is a thrill seeker. She wants to jump off mountains, boost a backpack, boost out of the sea, and she goes skiing in a sit ski and going down mountains and I don't go on holiday to get cold. So when she goes skiing, she goes with a group of people, fantastic charity that support a lot of kids who just want to get some speed behind them, and she's really good at it. I'm immensely proud of her, and scares the living bejesus out of us what she does. I mean, I'm not going to stop her. Someone will stop her. That'll probably be God. But if you look at what my daughter does and what my son wants to do in travel and sea, you can understand why I'm looking at air travel going, well, my two kids want to do what everybody else has done. And effectively, you're saying it's a big no entry sign on the cabin door for these kids. You might think that you can facilitate them, but you can't. That's the reality. So I'm sure as execs, if it's try and get my son and my daughter on a plane, and like Michael, like everything, there's generations, and I long discussing with a lady called Baroness Jane Campbell, and it was just amazing what that lady did to bring the DDA Act, whatever it was. Yeah, back then. Sorry, my mind's gone a bit skew with. And there'll be other generations coming through now, and it's important that we look at solutions and way to resolve things. as has taught us last week with the very sad loss of that MP and Jo Cox before her. And I truly believe there are people out there that just have no idea on how to solve things. They just want to make a mess of people. And it annoys me. And I've never done that. Never say to somebody on social media what you wouldn't say constructively to their face. And that doesn't do anybody any good at all. I don't like that at all. But it certainly helped me in this and in this campaign. But I've never been anything but supportive and positive.
I'm just going to dive into the chat room very briefly. Firstly, apologies for the audio. Hopefully you can all hear me clearly. But to those of you that have pinged messages in, thank you so much for your messages. And yes, indeed, it is very hot in Abu Dhabi. That is for sure.
It was very hot. I'd recommend anybody to go. You get free concerts as well. We went to see Rihanna and Lionel Richie.
Let's move on to the next photo.
Next photo, what do we have? I can't remember what I sent you. So this is another thing, and the good example of where accessibility works, and that has really evolved over the years. And when I was young, I used to do festivals all the time. And as both my kids grew up, I wanted them to experience the same things that I did as I grew up, and concerts and festivals. So this is V Festival. Unfortunately, it's raining. And again, you know, I'm one of those dads that would just go, well, it's raining, so what? Let's just do it, you know. And I do hear people say, what if it's raining? How are we going to get the wheelchairs around? So, I don't know. We'll work it out when we get there. And do you know what? They are great people at festivals. They're going to help you. They're going to do as best as they can to get you around. So be in no doubt, the spirit at a festival is just incredible. And they've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I managed to take them down the front, actually. I wouldn't say it was a mosh pit because it was the Proclaimers. And I wanted to take them, experience the front of the stage. But you could see security going, yeah, what do we do? We've got two wheelchairs down the front. I don't know what to do. You know, what do we do? I don't know. What do you do? And they just left us alone. But yeah, it was fine.
So, Chris, your Twitter profile talks about lobbying and campaigning for wheelchair users to fly with dignity and safety in their own chair inside the cabin of an airline. Now, for those that might wish to support your campaigning efforts, where do they go to find out more information?
Well, they can drop me an email, and I'm sure your team will be able to share that. Or just go through the website, which is about to change this week. So anybody that's ever built a website, I've got a friend building it, which is great because she's like a real, tech geek. But it's just the content, man alive. It's just all of that I've got to write. So that's all happening this week. But yeah, no, please do contact me. And once again, it's an old chestnut, but do write to your MP. Because, whether you love them or hate them, it's irrespective. These people have power. Write to your MP, or even if they don't have power, but they still have power. And, they have to reply to you. And so just keep making that noise. Anything on social media is always, always valuable. And I think with the concept that is there now and the people that are surrounding that concept and pushing it forward, we have perhaps the best chance ever. And I'm, it sounds like I'm bigging myself up, which I'm not, because without Nigel Smith and Paul Priestman, it is nothing. And they are the people that, have really come together for this. So ultimately, it's the best chance I think we have. And I don't think we want to let that go.
If either of those two individuals tuned in this evening, what would your message be to them?
Sorry, who?
The two individuals you've just mentioned.
Nigel Smith. And Paul. Well, Paul's in China. Nigel's somewhere in Wales, I think. If they were, if they were tuning in, they just. I don't have a message. They're just doing everything right. I'll text them.
Very, very good. Just jumping into the chat room for a second, Sarah said it's so hard to use electric wheelchairs on field areas. I'm not quite sure what you mean there, Sarah, but
no, I do. She's absolutely right. It can be hard, especially in the mud. And trust me, I've done it. And you have to, once again, all we did was all electric wheelchairs, as I'm sure you know, Michael. You can freewheel them with a couple of clips. And, you know, trust me, there's been a gang of people pushing this wheelchair along. You know, you just make it work somehow. Absolutely, just make it work.
yes.
And, you know, if just go and try. You know, I don't know what else to say, but if you don't, and it's sometimes it's just as much fun going wrong. You know.
Very good, Chris. We're going to talk about the Air for All Consortium. We're just going to pop up an image here, and maybe you can tell us a little bit more about the Air for All Consortium. What's its mission? What's its objective?
So we kind of, the consortium, what we want to try and be is the Suez Canal of accessibility in an aviation, where it comes to design and certification. So getting a wheelchair on an aircraft is one thing. I'm going to touch on the T word, toilets, because toilets on an aircraft, well, you know, and again, you know, you talk to regulators and you say to them, you do know people dehydrate. That is, they don't drink for 2, maybe 3 hours before they fly. Are you comfortable with that level of safety on the passenger? And the only answer can be no. However, then it flicks back to the airlines because they've got to create the space. And there are accessibility accessibility toilets on the bigger aircraft. Now, there's been recently some legislation going through where the Paralyzed Veterans of America, the PVA, took the DOT, the Department of Transport, effectively legislation around, we want to be able to go to the toilet on a single aisle aircraft. And we're waiting for the result, which should be, I say result, the findings around December. But the toilets are, you know, a big challenge. Again, it just needs more space. But of course, you take away seats. Now, what might happen? And again, I talk about there are some airlines that will probably go the extra mile, because the fill rate on an aircraft pre-pandemic globally was about, I think it was in the mid-80s, if I'm being kind. So in other words, they're about 80% full, sometimes more, sometimes less. So I think we've got a bit of room there, and we could make that toilet bigger. What about a changing places toilet inside? And, you know, don't aim this at people that are disabled. Just aim this at mums with very, very young babes. Aim this at our elderly population who are living longer, who are less mobile. I watched a person reverse into a toilet, and I know that sounds really stalky, and especially if it was a lady. And I asked her on the way out why she reversed in, already feeling like I'm a stalker. And she said, I had a hip operation, and I didn't want to play Twister inside the toilet just to sit down. And I understood, you know. She said, they're awful. And I could have, all things could have gone wrong. So we need some more space in them toilets. There's just not enough good thinking. So Air for All, we can maybe look at that. Throw us some ideas. What do we want to change? What needs doing? You know, and hopefully we will be that buffer between the airline and whatever the community that may be, and sitting that, you know, governments and regulators just looking after it. I just want to point out something. I mean, if you see a fire extinguisher on an aircraft, that's probably cost in the region of £500,000 to £1 million just to get that certified to go on an aircraft. Silly thing like that. This is what I've learned, Michael.
This is fascinating. It really is. Moving from the T word to the H word, Chris. Slight gear change now in the conversation. Tell us, where's your happy place?
Right now, here, talking to you guys and these people on this room, because this is why I do this, and it's almost like it was destined to be. I go live with something, and I'm talking to everybody that I know that. And, you know, in the surrounding circles that are involved in and around MD, and essentially I know you did it right. It was parents and carers. There might be parents there with kind of young kids going, well, how are we going to travel when they get older? And it is tough. Well, I'm hoping that will be done, and that will not be a worry.
I'm hoping also that the audio has improved a little bit for everyone. I can only apologise. We seem to have some audio gremlins, but we'll keep pressing on. So, Chris, moving on to in-flight movies, or movies generally. Come on then, let's talk about films. Name your favourite movies, please, Chris.
Well, I've got two,
Okay.
and they can vary. I watched Citizen Kane at the weekend, so it can vary. But two that are guaranteed, I will sit and watch them. He's number one, Taxi Driver with Robert De Niro and Jodie Foster. And I went to see that, and it kind of changed my whole life about cinema, really. And De Niro went on to, he's a bit of an idiot now, but he did do The Deer Hunter, The Godfather, The Bronx, some great films.
Yeah.
Mission. But Taxi Driver sits with me. And you think there's a very young Jodie Foster in there. Look at her now. And Martin Scorsese, of course, who's an incredible director. And the other one, which is a bit more recent, which is The Big Short, which I don't think many people will know about. But if you ever wondered why the banks crashed in 2008, 2009 and the financial system, then you got to watch The Big Short. But you don't watch it once because you watch, well, I didn't quite get that. So you watch it the second time. And what's lovely about it, I mean, it's Christian Bale. Who else is in it? Ryan Gosling, Steve Carell, Brad Pitt. And,
Ryan Gosling.
Yeah, Ryan Gosling. I mean, what's not to like with all of that? And then you switch over to Margot Robbie, and I think Ryan Gosling turns around and he goes, now we're going to go over to Wendy from Dunkin' Donuts, who will explain about bonds and A grades and Bs and BBs and mortgages. And it's just a superb film. And I watch it every time and I learn something new from it. And it's an incredible film. And unfortunately, not a lot has changed in the banking world, and I'm not going to get onto that. But with a base rate at 0.5% and there's still you can borrow money at 10, someone's making a lot of money again.
We're not even going to go down that route.
Thank you.
Let's not do cryptocurrency tonight.
Yeah, it's a Bitcoin.
So, Chris, it's that time again for our second quickfire round. Are you ready?
Yeah, I didn't like the first one, so let's see if I like the second one.
All right. If someone were to play you in a movie, Chris, who would you want it to be?
Oh, it's got to be Brad Pitt. I want to move up, I just want to move up.
I was hoping you might say Tom Hanks, but there we are.
Maybe.
So, Chris, what's your one? Do you have one hidden talent? Sounds to me like you got a few more than one.
I'm a kind of jack of all trades and a master of none, really. And certainly when it comes to musical instruments, I like to have a go at whatever's lying around. That's about it, really. I don't have it. No, they're not hidden. I can drink a bottle of vodka and still stay standing. That's not really a talent, though, is it?
Nastrovi. The last text message you sent.
It's to my son and my daughter. Are you tuning in tonight? Not a reply. Oh, my daughter did, and she's probably listening. So, yeah.
Hi to the family.
Yeah.
So, Chris, name three, if you can, name three of the top 10 aviation movies of all time. Go.
Aviation movies. Well, Sully will be the most recent one that I really enjoyed. And okay, Sully. Aviation top movies. Oh my God. Oh, Airplane has to be. Pick the wrong day to give up vodka. And Airplane, Sully. What else can I think of? That's about it, really. Probably a couple of hijacking ones in there somewhere, but I don't know. Oh, Air Force One. Top
Air
film.
Force One.
Gary Oldman playing evil.
Tora.
Oh God, we're going back there, Michael.
Memphis Belle.
Should we go back even further?
Black Hawk Down.
Oh yeah, that sort of thing. That's helicopters, isn't it?
So tonight's dinner, Chris, who cooked it?
I did. Do you want to know what it was? This is really sad. It's beans on toast, mate. I've been on a computer all day.
Love it.
Just baked beans. Heinz has to be. Sorry,
Nothing
other brands are
wrong with
available.
beans on toast. One thing that Chris Wood does to relax, apart from drink vodka.
I rarely drink these days. Unless I've got no responsibilities whatsoever the next day or two, because as you get older, it takes longer to recover. Sorry, what was that question again, Michael?
One thing that Chris Wood does to relax.
I listen to music. Really, I do that, and I read. Member of a book club, and so I do like to read. That switches off
Good stuff. I think this question was asked in the chat room earlier, but I'm going to put it to you again. So, safe, secure airline accessibility for wheelchair users. 12 months, 5 years, 10 years?
So, I'm going to get asked this a lot, and I already have by the press. And, it's a difficult one to answer. But in reality, with the fair wind, I can see inside 2 years. If one airline picks up on this and goes, we're having that, there's going to be a domino effect, and it will happen. And this is the concept that will allow that to do it, because it appeases the airlines. I think there might be more leaning on wheelchair manufacturers actually to make sure they get that right. And again, as I kind of addressing our audience here, be patient and understand there might be a compromise. And I was talking to a great advocate over in the States, John Morris. I said to John, how often do you change wheelchair? Because my son's been in his 6, 7 years now, maybe 6, can't remember. And they said over 5 years over in the States. And that struck me as quite odd. I thought we would be longer. I don't know, has anybody got any stats on that? That would be an interesting one.
So without naming the airline brands, is there one particular airline that you feel might put its head above the parapet?
I think there'll be a few, and I can't name them.
Okay.
Well, I can actually. I tell you what, I will, because it's only a hunch. I don't know. But there are certain airlines out there that go above and beyond the call of duty. And one of those is Virgin. And bear in mind, they're all strapped for cash at the moment, so it's irrelevant. Money's irrelevant. Virgin would have always been pushing this agenda. I feel Air New Zealand might be one of those as well. I also think the two Emirates and Etihad,
yep.
They might be quite keen to do this. I think there will be several. I'm not sure about any of the American airlines. I think they will, but they are really kind of more revenue driven, but you wouldn't rule it out. There is one I've been talking to, I can't remember the name. It might be ATR. I don't think it was ATR.
Okay.
It's a small airline in America, but they want to make it all accessible. So, yeah, they're there.
So, Chris, tell us briefly your food heaven.
My food heaven? God, what is my food heaven? God, I don't know. If I was, I love sea bass. I do love sea bass, yeah. And I'll cook that. That's kind of nice.
And the best bit of advice, Chris, that you give your younger self?
That I would give my younger self: don't go out with her.
So, Chris, who makes you laugh out loud?
My kids normally. And some of my close friends. I go fishing every now and again, and those close friends I go fishing with, I mean, we just have an absolute hoot. We could just be a bunch of 60-year-olds being 21 and stupid again, not upsetting anybody else apart from ourselves, and not worrying too much. But my kids generally, they always, especially my daughter, because she kills me. So yeah, she's so much fun.
So if you could invite two celebrities, I use that word cautiously, two celebrities to your home for a pot of tea, who would they be and why, Chris?
Well, it would be a pot of tea, because it would be Gandhi and it would be Hitler, and I think they both drank tea. And I'd like to sit down with them, have a natter. Maybe they can have a natter between them, because they're both vegetarians, which in one hand is a good thing, in the other hand, not so clever. So, you've got to look at that and go, you two have a chat. Let's see if we can sort this out. One person in particular. But I've got quite a fascination with World War II in a historic way, and understanding everything about it. And I read books and I get knowledge about it, Michael, but it doesn't always stay there. I need my brain, something Google logged in there, so I can just access it quicker.
So, Chris, tell us about one or two goals or aspirations that you want to achieve whilst your lungs are still beating. Your lungs are filling in there.
I mean, I'd love to crack this, and I'm sure we will. And I'll just keep going with that. And that would be fantastic. And however that's done, I want to go to North Korea, just before the Americans bomb it and Starbucks and McDonald's start appearing everywhere. So I want to go and see the human rights aside, and let's face it, Newcastle, we've just got in with the Saudis, but I'd just like to go. I'd just like to go to a proper communist country, and I'm very aware I will have to relinquish my passport on my phone and travel in a bundle with tourists. I buy that every day of the week. It'll only be for a few days, but I'd like to go. I'm a bit of a dark tourist sometimes, Michael. I like going to, I was in Washington. I had to go to the Watergate Hotel. For the younger viewers, that's when Nixon got caught phone tapping and things. And they've actually got an incident room in the Watergate Hotel. I didn't realise that would happen. That was great.
Shout out to Jamie in the chat room. So, Chris, you've been a brilliant guest. We've pushed through some of these audio gremlins. If there was one thing that we can all do, Chris, to make the world a slightly better place, what would it be?
Smile and say hello when you walk down the street. Ain't difficult, is it? And stop being angry and be happy. Just smile and be happy, and accept that it's just we're all different, but just a bit more tolerance would be good. I spend too much time on social media, Michael. Is wrong. But just smile. And it's a gym I go to, and we're good down there. Everybody smiles. Good morning, 6:30 in the morning. How you doing? Chatting. It's great. It's really good.
Where's the gym?
In my imagination. No, it's actually it's down the road from me, so it's not too far. And I'm a morning person, very much not a night owl. So I'm up early and just get going really. Well, it's a lot slower these days, Michael, but I do get going.
Very good, Chris. One of our beneficiary families, Sarah, says, Chris, you sound like a very adventurous person.
I'll have a go at most things. I mean, there are some things, i.e. skiing, Taylor, if you're listening. I'm never going to have a go at that, not in my life. But Michael, can I ask you a question?
No, not at the moment. This is not the Michael McGrath show. Chris, let me. You've been a superb guest. You can ask me a question if it's a quick one, and I'll try and give you a quick answer.
I just wanted to know your view, because you travel by air. I'd love to hear what you think of that concept.
I think the concept is sound. I think progress is being made, and I think the world needs an army of Chris Woods to continue to champion what is an incredibly important subject. I've had some great experiences flying. I've had some not so great experiences flying. I miss flying. I hope to fly again. I really do. And it's, as you well know, from your experiences with your family, certainly from my perspective as somebody that lives in a power chair, I have to plan my life like a military operation. Each day that goes by, depending on wherever I'm going, there's lots of planning. So, there's a little expression, PDR, plan, do, review, and that's what I'm continually doing. So listen, Chris, hopefully that answers your question. But just before I invite you to give me your very best muscle warrior salute, I'd like to ask our viewers, all right, this evening, aviation enthusiasts around the world and anyone interested in flying and accessibility, just to indulge us for a moment, please. We're going to play a rather special film to give viewers an insight into a very, very special muscle dream experience that the Muscle Health Foundation charity delivered a few years ago now. You'll understand in a few seconds why it's being shown tonight. And here's my request to you all. If you feel compelled to make a little donation so the charity can continue to push on with its now virtual muscle dream efforts, its therapeutic interventions, the programs that we're now delivering, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you for your donations in advance. Meet Lewis from Northern Ireland, who has Duchenne muscular dystrophy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is his Airbus A380 muscle dream story. So from me to you, Chris, let me now give you my best Muscle Warrior salute. And if I could invite you to do the same, please.
There it is. I'm maroon as well, which is good.
And for those that don't know, Muscle Warrior salute is a visible symbol of hope, courage, strength, joy, and unity for all those with muscular dystrophy. As always, if you've enjoyed tonight's episode or enjoyed the little film we've just played, you know what you need to do. Please, can we invite you to make a small donation to the charity. Thank you so much. And Chris, as is the custom, always, if you know somebody that you think would make an outstanding in conversation with guest for a future episode, Chris, will you let us know?
I can tell you now, it would be Martin Sibley if he hasn't been on. Martin Sibley's doing some great work out there, and he would fill a day, let alone an hour. I would get hold of Martin. He's just a great leader, and again, just a positive. Let's solve these things. Let's remove barriers, and just a great guy.
Great stuff. So here we go. Here's the breaking news and our drum roll moment. So we are back on the 10th of November, Wednesday the 10th of November, for what will be episode 18 of series 2. There's the diary date alert, and we go live at 7:30. And in this episode, I will be joined by Kerry Thompson, disability blogger and otherwise known as the Toilet Queen, who describes herself as, and I quote from her blog, "My life Kerry's way." A blonde girl living in the land of the concrete cows and roundabouts, Milton Keynes, with her husband. Kerry has a very rare form of muscular dystrophy called FHL1 gene mutation, and we'll learn a little bit more about that in 3 weeks' time. So be sure you tune in to discover Kerry's incredible campaigning journey in playing her part in trying to make the world a little bit more of an inclusive place. I know that her wheels do not define her. I know that she's a self-confessed planning addict, and I know that she writes lists and lists and lists. But I'm really looking forward to finding out what exactly the Toilet Queen gets up to when it comes to her love of loos and the ongoing successes of a campaign that I'm sure many of us have heard of called Changing Places. Wednesday, the 10th of November, there's the diary date alert. And once again, on behalf of the Muscle Health Foundation charity, muscle-tastic thanks to tonight's guest, Chris Wood. You've been a star, Chris. Thank you so much. And to our volunteer StreamYard studio team, to Lindsay, to Kate, and our StreamYard studio lead, to Grace. Thank you so much for holding the fort. And once again, apologies for some of the audio gremlins that you may have experienced this evening. We'll try harder next time, I promise you. From us, but for now, have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.